The commander's threat hung in the stone cell, like the chains. Break the prince by sunrise, or die.
You have until the gates open. Extract his army's position, or I'll have you dragged to the noose.
Kale, the lowest torturer in the royal dungeon, was given a death sentence. Break the prince or be executed.
Do your worst. A prince does not break under the likes of you.
Make him scream. Kale, I want the rebellion's position before the sun rises.
Kale tightened the clamp, and the prince's muscles strained against the leather straps.
Don't scream. Don't give them anything.
He held out longer than most. But then, through cracked lips, a whisper.
Your precious savior. He was no hero. He was the real monster.
Kale's grip on the tool loosened. A cold shiver ran down his spine as the words sank in. For 3 days, the prince endured the rack, his screams painting the stone, but his lips sealed.
I gave you a sunrise. 2 have passed. You will extract the truth, or I will extract your entrails.
He's close. His mind is fraying. A few more hours and he'll spill everything.
You have until the candle burns out. No more.
The door slammed, and Kale was alone with a dying prince and a lit fuse.
If he doesn't break, I am dead. There's no rescue for a failed torturer.
The Shadow Horde wasn't real. He hired the mercenaries, burned the villages, to make himself king.
Madness. A desperate lie. The savior was a hero. The founder. Nothing else.
Ash Ridge. Ask the orphans. He left none, but some survived.
Kale pressed the hot iron to flesh, forcing a scream to drown out the truth he couldn't afford to hear.
At Duskhaven, his soldiers wore Horde armor. They burned the council hall, blamed the northern tribes.
Duskhaven, near Ash Ridge. The orphanage ruins. I always thought the Horde did that.
Promise me. Someone must know. The savior was a fraud. Let the dead have justice.
The hand fell. The prince's chest stilled. The only sound was the drip of water and the pounding in Kale's ears. Kale noticed a folded parchment, half hidden in the prince's torn vest, its edges stained, but the writing intact. The confession read, I, Lysander, heir of the North, testify that the Savior created the Shadow Horde to seize power. The cell door shook under heavy fists. The commander's voice echoed, report, torturer, or face the lash. Kale shoved the parchment into his tunic and straightened his apron. The secret felt heavier than any chain.
I hold the kindling, one spark, and the kingdom burns.
He turned to the dead prince and whispered a reply that no one would ever hear. The iron door groaned open. Commander Aldrich stepped inside, his shadow swallowing the torchlight.
The prince is dead. Did you extract the battle plans, or have you failed me again?
He said, nothing. The strain broke him first. I have no location.
A waste. Remember, torturer, I have eyes in this dungeon. Cross me, and you'll join him.
The commander left, his boots echoing down the corridor. Kale exhaled, but his heart still hammered. Alone, Kale withdrew the blood-stained parchment. His fingers trembled as he unfolded the full confession. He slaughtered Greywood Village, blamed the Horde, then used the tragedy to rally the lords. Thousands died.
Greywood, that was no border skirmish. That was a massacre, and the Savior caused it.
He folded the parchment back into his tunic, pressing it against his skin, as if it might burn him.
No one can know. Not yet. Maybe not ever.
2 days later, Kale obtained leave to inspect the outer ruins. A pretext to seek the truth, he walked beyond the city walls, to the blackened earth of Ash Ridge, where nothing grew.
This place, the prince described it. The orphanage that burned with everyone inside.
He sifted through the ash with bare hands until his fingers struck something hard, a metal insignia, its edges warped by fire, but the emblem unmistakable, the sunburst and sword of the Savior, the Savior's own crest, proof that his soldiers were here, not any horde marauder.
No horde raiders wore this badge. This was an inside job. The prince told the truth.
He slipped the crest into his pocket, his eyes darting to the tree line.
If anyone finds this, no. I'll hide it with the confession. The truth can't stay buried forever.
By the time he returned to the dungeon, the insignia in his tunic felt like a second heartbeat. Kale was summoned to the cell block, where Captain Halden stood beside a battered old man in rebel rags.
This rebel knows the truth behind the Horde's attacks. Make him talk, or you'll be next.
The old soldier slumped against the wall, his eyes hollow from months of captivity. The prisoner muttered of false flags and villages burned by the Savior's own soldiers, his voice cracking with despair.
Another voice. Same confession. This is no longer the raving of a tortured prince.
Kale scribbled the rebel's account on a scrap of parchment, his pen moving silently in the candlelight. He lifted a loose floorboard beneath his cot and added the new testimony to the growing bundle of secrets.
I need to keep this safe. One day, the rebellion might risk everything for this evidence.
But every shadow in the corridor seemed to shift, and the weight of the secret grew heavier each night. Kale resolved to document every shred of evidence, building a case that could bring down a kingdom. Late one night, in the dusty archive below the dungeon, Kale combed through forbidden records of the Savior's early campaigns.
Those records are forbidden. What are you doing down here, torturer?
I am just curious about old wars. Nothing suspicious.
I've read those chronicles. They match stories my grandfather told about the Horde being a sham.
He knows. How long has he suspected?
Milo pulled a worn leather book from his satchel, its pages filled with marginal notes in his own handwriting. The Savior's victory at Blackwood was achieved by his own forces, disguised as Horde, slaughtering the villagers to incite war.
If you have evidence, then we share a dangerous truth. We must work together.
This is treason. But if I don't help him, the truth dies.
In the flickering candlelight, the torturer and the scribe laid their secrets side by side, forging a silent pact of rebellion. Commander Aldrich's voice cut through the stone like a blade, summoning Kale to his private chamber.
You've been meeting that rat Milo. Tell me, do you discuss the prince's confession, or do you simply trade stories?
Milo is a scribe. He assists with the records. Nothing more.
Records? The ones you nearly got executed for. I have patrols that say you roam at night.
Kale felt the sweat bead on his forehead. The noose tightened with every question.
My methods keep this dungeon working. If you doubt my loyalty, then dismiss me, but you won't.
I don't doubt. I suspect, and suspicion is enough to see you twist in the wind. Watch your step.
Kale stepped into the corridor, where Captain Halden's sneer met him.
Heard you've been burning the midnight oil. Don't get too cozy with the scribe. Rats bite.
They're circling. One wrong word, and the floorboard will be my grave. I can't let them find it.
Commander Aldrich ordered a surprise inspection of every torturer's quarters, his patience finally spent.
Tear apart every cell. If Kale hides so much as a scrap of treason, I'll have his head on a pike.
Kale heard the clatter of boots down the corridor and knew he had seconds, not minutes.
The floorboard. Move the papers or they'll hang me.
He yanked the loose plank, shoved the bundle of parchments inside his apron, and slammed the board back down.
Move aside, filth. By order of the commander, we tear this room apart.
They overturned his cot, smashed his trunk, but found only cobwebs and rusted pincers.
A reprieve, Kale. But your neck remains measured for the noose. I will find what you hide.
When the door slammed, Kale collapsed against the wall, the papers crinkling against his ribs.
No more. I can't survive another search. I have to escape this stone tomb.
Kale, the commander has summoned you for interrogation at dawn. We have to leave tonight.
So soon. This is it, then. We run or we die. Then we go tonight. Forge a travel pass. We can blend in with the supply carts.
Milo steadied his quill and forged the commander's own seal onto a blank pass, his hand barely trembling. Kale retrieved the bundle from its hiding place. the prince's confession, the insignia, and the rebel testimonies.
This bundle is worth more than my life now. If I fall, the truth must not burn with me.
I've never broken a rule before, but if the Savior was a lie, then every law is built on a lie.
Together they crept to the heavy cell door, its iron frame cold as the grave. Kale eased it open a finger's width. The corridor lay empty, but distant boots echoed like a warning.
Stay close. Don't make a sound. If we stop, we're dead.
They moved like ghosts through the dim corridor, each shadow a threat, each echo a pursuer. A guard stepped from an alcove, raising his lantern, shouting, "Halt in the name of the king." Kale didn't hesitate. The shiv in his sleeve found the guard's throat, silencing him forever.
Another body, another sin. But if the truth dies, all their deaths are meaningless.
As the corpse slumped, a distant bell clanged. The alarm spread like fire through dry grass.
They'll swarm us. We have to reach the city streets.
They raced upward, bursting out of a drainage grate into a narrow alley, slick with refuse. Crossbow bolts slammed into the bricks behind them. One sank into Milo's thigh, dropping him with a cry.
Move, Milo. The wall is near. Don't you dare stop now.
Kale wrenched him upright, the boy's blood warm on his arm, and dragged him toward the outer wall's dark silhouette. At the base of the wall, a rope dangled from Kale's earlier recon. Hope flickered.
I can't. My leg won't hold. Take the documents, Kale. Go without me.
I won't leave you. We climb together, or we don't climb at all.
The truth is bigger than me. Promise me you'll make the kingdom hear it.
This boy, he's braver than any soldier. Forgive me, Milo.
There, the traitors by the wall. Bring them down, dead or alive.
Kale slung the bundle over his shoulder and began to climb, the rope biting into his palms. Below, Milo was pinned to the ground, his cry of capture echoing up the stone. Kale didn't look back. He focused on the rope, on the bundle against his chest, and climbed into the darkness.
I will carry this sin to my grave, but I will make them hear. I swear it.
For 3 days, Kale stumbled through the forest, the bundle of evidence his only compass.
Every step is a prayer. Let me reach those who will listen.
Campfires flickered through the trees. Rebels seized his arms and threw him to his knees. A hooded figure pressed a blade to his throat, hissing of spies and traps.
I have proof. The prince's confession, the savior's crimes. Let me speak to your leader.
The crowd parted. A young woman with a scarred cheek and a bow slung over her shoulder stepped forward.
A torturer from the city? Prove your worth before I put an arrow through your heart.
This is the prince's final testament, and this crest, found in the ashes of Ash Ridge.
Lena took the blood-stained parchment. Her eyes moved across the words, her jaw tightening.
We've only heard whispers, but this is no rumor. This is the weapon we needed.
In a hidden tent, Kale and Lena copied the prince's confession, his dying words now a weapon.
Every copy that leaves camp is a dagger aimed at the throne. Send them tonight.
A sealed letter slid under a lord's door. By candlelight, he read the copied confession, his hand shaking.
Find the one who spreads this heresy. Scour the city. Burn every scrap of that treason.
Kale moved through the forest at dusk, the bundle of evidence still pressed to his chest. A shadow lunged from the dark.
Assassins. They've found me already. I can't let them take the papers. The king's reach is long, but I will vanish into the rebellion's shadow.
He left 2 bodies behind, melting into the mist. The hunt had begun. Across the city, pamphlets appeared like autumn leaves, each one carrying the prince's dying testimony.
The truth spreads faster than the king's lies, but you are the flame he wants to extinguish. Stay hidden.
The king's soldiers raided a rebel safe house, and Lena was dragged out in chains, her face bloodied. Kale watched from the shadows, his fingers tightening around the bundle of evidence.
If they execute her, The rebellion loses its heart. I can't let that happen. Not while I live. I am the one they want. My life for hers.
At dawn, Kale walked to the city gates, unarmed, his hands raised high above his head. He shouted to the guards on the wall, his voice carrying over the morning mist.
I have the confession. Release the rebel leader, and I'll give you the evidence and myself.
The king himself came to the gate, his laughter booming off the ancient stones.
A torturer playing hero. Very well. Release the woman, but chain this fool in the deepest cell.
They dragged Kale into the darkness, the bundle of papers still pressed against his ribs. They chained him to the wall and took the whip to his back until the stones ran red.
Each stripe is a promise I made. I won't break. Not now.
The cell door swung wide. King Theron entered, his crown catching the torchlight, his shadow falling across Kale.
Renounce these lies, and I'll grant a swift death. Continue, and the crowd will watch you suffer for days.
I've tortured men under your order. You think I fear pain? The truth will outlast your lies.
The king's face twisted. He turned to the guards and decreed a public execution at noon.
Drag him to the square at noon. Let the people see what happens to those who defy the crown.
They left him hanging in the darkness, the only sound the slow drip of his own blood.
Noon. I will stand before them all, and I will make them hear.
The execution platform awaited, but in the depths of the dungeon, Kale's will was a forge fire that no whip could quench. The noon bell tolled. Guards hauled Kale onto the execution platform, the hooded executioner waiting with his axe.
People of the kingdom, hear the truth. Your crown has buried for a century.
The murmur rippled through the sea of faces below. The crowd had been promised an execution, not a sermon.
The Shadow Horde was no enemy of the realm. The Savior himself created it, paid for it with your blood. Ash Ridge, Greywood, Duskhaven, all were false flags. I have the confession, and I hold the crest found in the ashes.
Silence him. Cut out his tongue before he poisons more fools.
But Kale's voice cut through the guard's hesitation. His wounds wept, but his words were fire. The crowd gasped. Years of silent doubt erupted into open anger as shouts for the king's head arose.
Kill him, before the whole square turns against us.
The royal guard surged forward to silence the chained man, but the crowd was already pressing against the barricades. The executioner raised his axe, the crowd's roar swelling, but a single arrow whistled from the throng and buried itself in his heart. He toppled, the axe thudding onto the wooden platform. The execution was now a rescue. The crowd was not just citizens. Rebels shed their disguises, steel glinting in the noon sun.
You didn't think I'd let them take your head, did you?
Just in time, Lena.
Rebels flooded over the barricades, their swords cutting down the guard with brutal, righteous fury.
To the palace. The king's lies end today.
The square erupted. Citizens and rebels alike surged through the shattered barricades toward the palace. The kingdom's foundations trembled. The battle for truth had become a battle for the throne. Kale and Lena led the charge, a torturer and a farm girl at the head of a revolution. The throne room doors exploded inward. Kale, bloodied and fierce, strode toward the cowering king.
So the torturer becomes the judge. Do you think a sword makes you righteous?
I carry the prince's testimony and the ashes of your victims. Your lies end here.
The Savior did what necessary. He forged this kingdom with blood, and it prospered.
You admit the sin. The Horde was a lie, built on the bones of the innocent.
The realm stands because of that lie. Without the Horde, the lords would have torn us apart.
Kale drove his sword through the king's chest, pinning the old man to the throne.
Then may the dead have justice. The lie dies with you.
The crown clattered to the marble. Lena stepped onto the balcony, holding the confession high for the crowd below.
Let the kingdom hear. The century of lies is over.
The confession was read from the palace balcony. each name a wound reopened. The crowd wept. Amid the mourning, cheers rose for the fallen prince, his testament, now the kingdom's new foundation. Guards unlocked the dungeon cells. Milo limped into the sunlight, and Kale caught him in a fierce embrace.
You came back for me.
I swore I would. The truth needed both of us.
But as the celebration swelled, Kale withdrew to a quiet balcony, his eyes vacant.
The king is dead. The truth is free. Why does my heart feel like a tomb?
He slipped away from the revelry, walking the familiar path to the hill where the prince lay buried. Kale knelt before the simple grave marker, the confession still crusted with blood in his hands.
Your promise is kept, my prince. But I am not the hero they think. I am just the torturer who believed.
He laid the blood-stained confession on the prince's grave, a final offering to the dead.
Sleep, my prince. The world knows your truth now.
He gathered kindling and struck flint. A small fire crackled to life in the clearing, piece by piece. He fed his leather apron to the flames, the uniform of a torturer, reduced to ash.
No more chains, no more screams, only quiet.
As dawn broke, he walked away from the hill, his shadow long on the dewy grass. He didn't look back. The city, the palace, the cheering crowds, they belonged to a world he was leaving behind on the hill. The confession fluttered in the morning breeze, a white flag over a field of ghosts. Kale vanished into the forest, a nameless wanderer with blood on his ledger and peace in his heart. The kingdom began to heal, but on that lone hill, the truth lay enshrined in blood and ink, never to be forgotten. Years later, an old man with a weathered face and deep scars sat on a bench in a quiet village. A curious child approached, pointing at the lines on his arms, and asked where they came from.
They remind me that heroes can be monsters, and monsters can be redeemed.
The child didn't understand, but nodded, and Kale smiled, a tired, peaceful smile. He lived quietly in that village. The former torturer turned recluse, his ghosts laid to rest. Centuries later, in the capital's museum, a blood-stained parchment lay in a glass case under soft light. The confession of Prince Lysander, the key that unlocked a century of lies, preserved for all to see. School children filed past, learning the hard-won truth, that a torturer and a prince ignited the flame of a new kingdom. And beside the confession, a simple candle burned, marking the eternal vigil of the redeemed. The flame flickered once, then died, and the screen faded to black.